Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective.
Well, morning, everyone. Welcome to FantasyGuru.com's Fantasy Sports Daily. Welcome to the show. We got the tech issue in the background. I still can't figure out why this program does that. It shows the background. It's not a big deal. It just shows the background for those of you watching of my office. It's not that I'm centered, but yeah, I don't know why it does that. So anyway, here I am, a little bit better off. Hope you're doing well here on a Thursday, getting ready for the NFL draft. We'll have all kinds of coverage on this show about that. In about a half an hour, we'll talk to Tyler Buecher, get his thoughts on the NFL draft. We'll also have it covered over at FantasyGuru.com tonight. So we'll talk more to Tyler about what's going on, but there's a live stream tonight. So over at FantasyGuru.com, we'll be covering all the draft picks of the NFL. Jeff Mans will be on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio today covering all the drafts. So whether you're listening to Jeff on Sirius or with us over at FantasyGuru.com, we got you covered. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. I'm here with you Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fensterman hosts on Wednesdays, 5 days a week. Fantasy Sports Daily is rocking and rolling about 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We normally go about an hour, so that's what we're planning on doing today. I'll throw up on the screen what we're going to talk about here so you can give it a look. We're going to talk some baseball. A really good question in the Discord over at FantasyGuru.com this morning. Someone was getting really frustrated because their league is vetoing all the trades. So we'll talk about trade vetoes. What's the right way to do it? What's the wrong way to do it? Should you even allow trades? We'll talk about that here on the show. Then we'll break down a bunch of players. Starting out with the injuries on the hill. Blake Snell, Grayson Rodriguez, Pablo Lopez. One of those has got good news. The other two, not so much. Emmanuel, Clase, Edwin, Diaz in the bullpen. Reese, Olson, Francisco Alvarez, Zach Veen. Taylor Ward, Anthony Volpe, Willi, Castro. No. Corey Seager and Josh Smith. And then, as I noted, we'll talk to Tyler Buecher in about 25 minutes. He usually joins us every Thursday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. He'll preview the final thoughts on the NFL draft. He's actually got a mock draft up over at FantasyGuru.com, so we'll talk to him about that a little bit. Tomorrow here on the show at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, Russell Clay will join us. And Russell will kind of review the first round. Obviously, he'll be doing that work tonight over at FG as well. Don't forget to go to FantasyGuru.com. You hear this stuff. You want to see the live stream tonight. You want to get signed up for the baseball product. You want to get involved. You want to be part of the Elite Mafia, the largest active community in fantasy sports. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. It's right up there. And sign up for any of the products. You can sign up for seasonal baseball, DFS baseball, wagering baseball. You can sign up for multiple baseball packages. Send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com, support at FantasyGuru.com. Send a note and ask a question, and we'll be happy to answer whatever those might be. Remember, when you sign up for a package at FG, you get access to the Discord room for that package. So if you sign up for seasonal baseball, there you go. You sign up for fantasy football, there you go. So we got it all for you over at FG. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Follow us on Twitter X at Fantasy Guru site, on Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, on what's it, YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. So many addresses. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. If you follow us at any of those three spots, you can watch the show live. You can always watch on demand too, because it's stored in all those places. But you can watch live and ask questions, leave comments, all that kind of good stuff. We even have one here from Ruby17. I was just going to ask about Josh Smith, picked him up in 2 leagues, and as Ruby noted, he's on the list here of guys we're going to talk about in a bit. And again, I saw someone in Discord this morning say, hey, I missed the Nick Kurtz call-up. Well, I'm sorry that happened, but we talked about him here on the show. He was in the article over at FantasyGuru.com. As I've noted previously, I'm pretty good at predicting who you all want to talk about. Been doing this for over 2 decades full-time. So I'm glad Ruby were able to address Josh Smith, and we'll do that here in a bit. You can also find us at FantasyGuru.com. Go to the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page, or type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network. So you can listen to us to the podcast. You can watch the video, however you want to consume the product. Tell a friend too, because obviously this is hopefully a gateway drug. Yeah, I'm saying it. Let's be honest. It's a gateway drug to get you to sign up at FantasyGuru.com. Hopefully you'll take that opportunity to do so. Okay, so to the question, before we dive into some specifics with players, to the question of, hey, Ray, I'm in a league. Trades keep getting vetoed. I'm pretty pissed off. What do you think I should do? That's the gist of the question I got this morning over at FG. And there are many possible ways to handle this. Let's talk about 4 specific ways, but there's many possible ways to handle this. One, you can just leave the league. I think that's the worst option. I was in a league once where this nonsense happened. There were nonsensical trades that were going on, so it was a different take on it. Every trade was being allowed versus none. And I played the season out and then just quit at the end of the year. I think quitting now in April, like that's, you sign up for the league. I'd really like to see you see it through. You can commit to, maybe paying 3/4 attention to it, or maybe really sticking it to everyone by trying super hard and winning the league despite this. But I think the worst option is to quit, because remember, even head-to-head or roto, you're impacting the rest of the league by doing that. So try to stay in the league if you can. So I think leaving the league is the worst option for you, even though I understand it. I do get it. Second would be to remove voting from your league mates. I've been in leagues where the league has to vote. I've been in leagues where it's only the commissioner that makes the determination. Now, I don't know. If you're in a home league, like your league mates, and it's not just some random people you signed up with when you went to one of the big box sites. If you're in a home league, the commissioner, you went to high school with him, he's your buddy. He's a professional, he's stand-up dude, all that kind of stuff. You can give the commissioner the power to veto the trade or not. Should one person have the power to veto a trade or not? Open-ended question, right? So that's an option. So instead of having your league mates vote and have this nonsense back and forth, people voting for their own interests and all that, give the power directly to the commissioner. Now, the commissioner has to be someone, again, that you trust. If you don't know the commissioner, if you're in a random league with 10, 11 other people, something like that, and it's just this guy's the commissioner, this gal's the commissioner, and you don't know him, you might be giving power to the person that's causing all the problems behind the scenes in the first place, right? So I think giving the power to the commissioner is a better option than quitting, but it still has its pitfalls if you don't personally know the commissioner. The next 2 options are the ones I think that most people should use. Number 1, you could increase the percentage needed to veto a trade. Let's say you have 12 people in the league, right? Two of you are going to vote for the trade because you're involved. So what's the number? Is it 7? Because again, the 2 of you involved in the trade would be saying yes. Then it's 5 out of the other 10. So it's half the other league. So do you need 7 out of 12? Is it merely 6 out of 12? Is it 50%? What's the percentage of people that vote to turn over a deal? You can do something like you need 3/4 of the league to say no. So if you have 12 teams, you need 9 people to say no. So that'd be my first real way to handle this for anyone that's having this problem in their league. Increase the percentage necessary. Don't make it 50%. Don't make it 60 or 2/3. Make it 3/4 of the league. If 3/4 of the league vetoes the trade, probably not a great trade. Now, the problem you run into with any of these options is people misidentifying the value of players. If people think that Wilmer Flores is going to win the MVP, not exactly. If people think Wilmer Flores is going to go 30-100 this year, they're going to vote incorrectly on a trade involving Wilmer Flores, right? That's an issue. So, someone might think, that Blake Snell is going to be the Cy Young winner in the second half of the season. Other people might say he's hurt again, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. I don't even know if he's going to pitch in the first half. So we have totally different viewpoints on who a player is. So that's the risk. But I would say increase the percentage of people in your league that are allowed to veto a trade to help, weed out the people that are just angry or ticked off or don't like you or whatever it might be. Because a lot of people, shockingly, I know you can't believe this, vote in their own self-interest. They don't even care about whether the trade is fair or not. They look at it, is it going to impact me negatively? Oh man, I'm going to lose points so they veto the trade, which obviously isn't the spirit of it. Fourth and finally, and none of you are going to want to do this, you already know what I'm going to say, don't have trades. Problem solved. Now, it seems to me that the majority of people that play fantasy, their 2 favorite things are waiver wire and trading. So 2 favorite things. Like they almost don't even like putting a good team together or care much about the draft. It's waiver wire and trades. And you will see teams as we get into the season that have made a couple of trades fleecing opponents. This is why people, and Jeff Mann says this all the time, the reason people really want trades is so they can rob people in their league that aren't as smart. That's really what it comes down to. Taking advantage of people that don't know what the hell they're doing. So you will see in certain leagues by June 1st, there are one or two teams, and it's like, how the hell is this team? Because they made a couple of smart trades early when people were stupid. Here's Wilmer Flores. Yeah, okay, here we go. Oh, really? I'll give you Spencer Steer. I'll give you Gavin Lux. And at the end of the day, this team is banging because the people misidentified the value of players. Just don't allow trades. Now, again, I don't think any of you are going to do this. I'm in leagues. Let's see. Most of my leagues allow trades, but no one ever trades because in my leagues, again, I'm with industry people, right? If I see Wilmer Flores having a great start, I know I can't trade you Wilmer Flores because I know you don't think he's going to hit 30 home runs this year. That's not reasonable. I know that. You know that. In your league, someone does think Wilmer Flores is going to hit 30 home runs this year. So the league, the trade can work. So in my leagues, a lot of times trades are allowed, but they just don't happen because our opinion of a player are similar. So those are the main ways that you can handle it. Now, EIEIO says there's a no veto rule for over 30 years in the league that they're playing in. You can have that. I mean, you can have that too. Did I even say that? Maybe I didn't say that. Maybe that's fifth option. Leave the league, remove voting from the league mates, increase the vote needed to play. That is a fifth one I didn't even say. Have a no veto rule. Duh. Geez, Ray. Leave the most obvious one out. Number 5, just don't allow trades. Don't allow vetoes. Now, the problem with this, and this is why, again, I left the league. The last time I did a public league, actually. Half public league. This very thing happened. Like, I'm watching these trades go down, and I'm like, what? And I'll say this too. I'm in a keeper league I'm in one keeper league and one dynasty league. In my keeper league, trades happen late in the year when people are trying to make moves to win this year and they're trading keeper value and all. Horrible trades, just freaking awful trades. Like a trade that wins the league this year but makes you barren for next season. People should be allowed to manage teams the way they want. I'm for that. Free economy, I'm for that. But you do get jammed up especially in a keeper league, because then, oh my God, this person just traded one keeper for 4 keepers. Why? Because these keepers, they have value because they're 29th round picks or whatever. They're not producing right now, but next year, give me that guy that's a first rounder this year. Okay, I get the trade, but even as we look to our next year, it's like, geez, you just unbalanced the league. So anyway, those are the options. Hopefully you can find one that fits. For me, again, the simplest one, just don't allow trades. No problems. I don't think anyone's going to do it, though, because no one likes that. All right, let's talk about Blake Snell, who I just brought up. Blake Snell has been shut down from throwing after experiencing more issues with his shoulder. And I will repeat something I said last year, and only half jokingly said it last year, and now I'm saying it this year. Blake Snell is stealing money. He's freaking stealing money. He's getting paid gobs of money, and he's not on the field. Now, he's not stealing it. But you get the point. The Giants paid him. They gave him a multi-year deal with the opt-out. He took the opt-out. He wasn't around. He didn't do anything for the first half of the season last year, then was terrific at the end. Signs the contract with the Dodgers. Here we go. He's can't get on the field. So his shoulder's an issue. They're running further tests. This is what happens to folks when they ignore history and they say, well, we can't predict injury. We can't. We know Blake Snell's going to get hurt. He gets hurt every year. He's thrown 130 innings twice in his career, and it seems almost impossible he's going to make it 3 times this year. This dude's won Cy Young awards. He's getting paid gazillions of dollars, and he's going to have like 2 seasons of 130 innings in a decade of pitching. It's remarkable, remarkable. We'll see with him. We don't have any idea if this is going to be short-term or long. We have no idea. They're going to run more tests. They're putting on a brave face here. They're saying, it's discomfort. And as someone who's dealing with a shoulder issue myself, I've talked about it here on the show. I've got a couple of tears in my rotator cuff. They're small, very small tears, but there's absolutely, it's my left arm, I'm right-handed, so at least there's that. Absolutely no possible way I could throw a baseball. Like, I couldn't play catch with my shoulder right now, let alone pitch, right? So I know the shoulder, and we talk about this a lot. Elbow, you can get fixed. Shoulders are messy. There's more going on in the shoulder. It's more complex. And your elbow, you drill a couple holes, you put a cadaver ligament in there, here you go. You know what I mean? It's like shoulders. So we'll see what happens with Blake Snell, but this is obviously terrible news for him. And I guess it's good news for guys like Tony Gonsolin and Bobby Miller, getting them an opportunity to be part of the rotation potentially until Clayton Kershaw's back in about a month. Tyler Glasnow, ankle issue. Like, the Dodgers got all this talent. Again, they're playing for October, but Blake Snell, that's a big loss for them, and obviously in the fantasy space as well. Grayson Rodriguez. Now this one, So Grayson Rodriguez hurt his elbow, was put on the injured list. Then they said a new issue came up, which was his shoulder. Okay. Then we got clarity yesterday that it's not his shoulder, it's his lat that's the problem. Now, I don't know about you, but let's be scientific here. Where is your shoulder? Let me stand on the screen here. Your shoulder is right here. Your lat is right here. Technically, I guess you could say your shoulder is underneath your armpit, but we all know, come on. This is not your shoulder. This is where your lat is, right? You have the swimmer thing, right? That's your lat. That's not your shoulder. So I don't know if this is a third injury. I don't know if they somehow thought it was a shoulder, but it's his lat, which doesn't make any sense. But the bottom line is he's got a mild lat strain. Now, this has been an issue for him repeatedly. He's actually worked on changing his mechanics a little bit. I was talking to Phil Backert about this yesterday. He's actually worked on changing his mechanics up because he keeps having this issue. So at this point in time, he's been feeling better the last couple of days. He's moving in the right direction. He's not going to start throwing for a couple of weeks, though. He hasn't thrown in a couple of weeks. Like, so this is basically, we're looking at him like he's reporting to spring training. So I would say from today, to him being back on the field is probably 2 months. I'm totally guessing, but I say that's fair. So April's done. May is done. Mid-June? That's my guess. Now, this is way better than we were hearing rumors that the season could be over. So this is way better, obviously. But Grayson Rodriguez is, I mean, at least Blake Snell has done it a couple of times, right? Grayson Rodriguez can't stay on the field. And just to remind everyone, Grayson Rodriguez is supposed to be a number 1 or number 2 starter at the big leagues. He's supposed to be an all-star. Everyone who ever saw this guy pitch forever said that. So, we'll see with him. And the Orioles desperately need him. They're going to get Kyle Gibson back here relatively short order, but their pitching staff is in shambles. Their season has started horribly. People have got the pitchforks out. I think Phil Backert said last 90 games, something like that, they're under 500. Maybe it was 50 games. I don't know. It was a long period of time going back to last season. But the people in Baltimore are pissed, and things are not going well for that team right now at all. Pablo Lopez, on a positive tip, hurt his hamstring. David Festa, who's been filling in, was demoted this morning. Lopez has not been activated, but the expectation is that he will be activated and he'll start against the Angels here in the upcoming series. So Pablo Lopez with the hamstring, it was a minor issue. They're feeling very good about him. Chris Paddock is going to start today. At least that's what I saw last time I looked. So Lopez Saturday, maybe something like that, back on the hill. Maybe Friday, one of those 2 days. So for those of you that have Pablo Lopez, get ready to activate him back. And because the stay on the disabled list was so short, he's not going to go out and throw 60 pitches. He's very likely to go out there and have a full complement of pitches in his first outing. So that's good news with him. Speaking of the bullpen, we got some problems here, okay? We've talked about this with Emmanuel Clase in particular. The issue is that Clase is not right, okay? Number one, that's the issue. He's not right. Number two, we got an issue with how this bullpen is being used. So let's start with the first one. First of all, they said Emmanuel Clase, and we've talked about, right? He struggles and he's not looked good and all that kind of stuff. Stephen Vogt said that everything was fine, that Clase was okay. Well, then a day later, he says, well, now his shoulder's a little bit. I try to give teams the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Clase said he was fine, then he woke up the next day and his shoulder was sore. This happens, okay? But when you hear the guy's fine, and then like the next day you hear he's not fine. Now, again, did the player lie? Did the team lie? I don't know. But the bottom line is what we were told is not the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that his shoulder is sore. There is no concern here that there's surgical intervention. There's no concern here of a significant injury. But we don't know when he's going to be back on the hill. There has to be the possibility that he could end up on the injured list, even if it's a short-term stay. Again, we haven't gotten any clarity on that. The real issue, though, is that Stephen Vogt seems to think that he gets coaching points for using every pitcher in the game that he possibly can. Because look at this. Clase was used 3 consecutive days before his shoulder got sore. Okay. Hunter Gaddis has been used in 3 of 5 days. Tim Herron has been used in 3 of 6 days. Joey Cantillo has been used in 3 of 4 days. And Cade Smith, who has gotten the save each of the last 2 opportunities, he's been used 4 times in 5 days. It's April, Stephen. Me to you. It's April. Your bullpen's not making it to the All-Star break if you do this. And this is the modern baseball, and this is the way things are managed. You're playing matchups and all that. But again, if we remove yesterday, because yesterday they didn't play, Clase was used 3 straight games before he got hurt. Gaddis was 3 of 4 days. Caden Smith was 4 or 5 days. Heron was 3 of 5 days. And Cantillo was 2 of 3 days. All of the bullpen, all of these guys, Paul Sewald, 2 of 3 days. The only pitcher in the bullpen that hadn't been used 2 of the last 4 days is Jacob Junis, and who's the long reliever. So we'll see. If you have the ability to pick up Cade Smith, you can do it. He's obviously a solid option in Souls leagues anyway, but as a saves option, we don't know how much time Clase is going to miss. We don't know. It might be nothing. He might be back this weekend. But he's not pitched well, and the shoulder's not right. So there's that. Edwin Diaz was removed with the hip injury. Mets are saying it's no big deal. Okay. But he was removed from the game with a hip injury. And this is continuing what has been a rough month of April for relievers in this league. So, if you got Edwin Diaz, I guess we breathe a sigh of relief, though maybe later today they're putting him on the injured list. They said he's fine. It looked like he was okay. Pointed at his hip. They took him out. Okay. Supposed to be a big deal, but AJ Minter, Reed Garrett, Ryan Stanek, probably next man up kind of thing with the Mets, but hopefully it's a minor situation with Edwin Diaz. We'll continue to watch this. Reese Olson, who was in the Breakout Pitcher of the Year article, who's not the Breakout Pitcher of the Year selection, but he was in the Breakout Pitcher of the Year article this season in March, or maybe it's late February, over at fantasyguru.com. Here we go. That's what we're talking about yesterday, Reese Olson. 7 innings of work yesterday, 7 1/3 innings actually. Shutout baseball against the Padres. 41% CSW is not who he is. Not even close to who he is. But boy, was he on yesterday. He moved to 3-1. His VRA dropped to 3.3 yesterday, and after a little bit of concern at the start, here we go. And again, this is what, it's still April. I've been saying this a lot in various forms, but it's still April. We got to be patient with these guys. You got to let them work into things. Reese Olson was dominant yesterday. Great look for him moving forward. He gets the Astros next time out, and we'll see how he goes there. Going back to the Mets, by the way, Francisco Alvarez, fingers crossed, but it looks like he's going to return from his hamate bone issue tomorrow. Pretty much right on schedule, pretty much right as expected. Toward the end of April was kind of the guesstimate when he was hurt. Hayden Sanger will probably be sent back to the minors. Luis Torrens will go back to being a setup guy, or backup guy, at the catcher spot. Get ready to activate the best power hitting catcher in the National League. Francisco Alvarez should be back in a day here for the Mets. Zach Veen, who we talked about here on the show, who we gave the pluses and minuses to on the show, who I bid on and $118, I think, in one of my leagues out of 1,000 fab, was optioned to AAA yesterday when Brenton Doyle was brought off the bereavement list. Family issues for Mr. Doyle and his wife. Thoughts and prayers, all that kind of stuff out there. They lost their child, that's the report. So everyone, for a moment there for the Doyle family. But he's been activated back, and Zach Veen has been demoted. I don't know what the Rockies are doing. I don't think, and to be fair, I don't think the Rockies know what they're doing. And this goes all the way back to the contract when they gave the $180 million to Chris Bryant, and Kyle Elfrink and I both said, "What the hell is this team doing?" The day of the trade, what the hell is this team doing? This is not revisionist history. Zach Veen has to play every day. I mean, look at this. They have Beck, who's been in up and down, up and down, up and down. Veen, who's been up and down. Toglia, who's these 3 players, Beck, Toglia, and Veen, are supposed to be 3 of the players that this team uses for the next 6, 7, 8 years. They don't even let these guys establish themselves. They gave Veen 2 weeks and demoted him. He performed poorly. I'm not saying he didn't. He did. He performed poorly. He didn't force their hand. If you have Veen, the question now becomes, what do you do? In my league, it's a 15-team league. I'm holding him for now because he could be back in 2 weeks. If you're in a shallower league, you probably let him go. And then we talked about that with Veen, the up and down nature, and it's down right now for the Rockies outfielder. Taylor Ward hit cleanup yesterday for the first time. Just pointing this out, they faced a lefty and Andrew Heaney. It didn't work. The Angels have been hitting righties very well. They have not been hitting lefties. They continued that yesterday against Heaney. But the batting order, just to put it out there against the lefty, because they were trying to shake things up, I think, against lefties. Soler hit leadoff, Nito hit second, Trout third, Ward fourth. So keep an eye on what the Angels are doing, because Ward has traditionally been the leadoff guy. It's not bad to see him hitting fourth, right, against left-handers. Maybe he's still the leadoff guy against righties. But keep an eye on how they do things there. I'd rather see him hit leadoff, right? I think he's been there for the last couple of years, and it seems to work. But they're tinkering there, trying to figure out what's the best fit. A situation to worry about tinkering is with Anthony Volpe. 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts yesterday. He's 7 for 53. If you didn't see it last night, Jock Peterson broke his 0 for 41 slump. 0 for 41. How is that even possible? Like, legitimately, I don't know how that. I mean, it's harder to go 5 for 5 than it is to go 0 for 41. Anyway, Peterson broke his slump. Volpe needs to break his slump. Volpe is hitting 200. He's got power and speed, but he's really been sloppy and messy. Really, he has for the majority of his big league career. And, how many games does he play? Let's pull up real quick. It's not like the die is cast on Anthony Volpe and he can't make a change or can't improve or do anything like that. He's 23. He doesn't turn 24 till next week. But he's got 350 games under his belt here. And he's hitting 225 with a 290 on base percentage and a 375 slugging percentage. His OPS is 663. That's bad. That's really bad. So there's not much to get overly excited about here. He's been hitting 6. I'm surprised they haven't dropped him lower in the order because, again, 753 is not, looking at his numbers, the strikeout rate is way up. His walk rate's up a little bit, which I like. Isolated power's up a little bit, which I like. Exit velocity's up, barrel rate's up, hard hit rate. So when he's hitting the ball, he's doing a little bit better here in the early going. But the strikeout rate is up 7% from last year. So work in progress. Power and speed, yeah, but I worry about him. His consistency is certainly not there. He could get dropped down in the batting order as a result. Willi Castro, who missed 5 games in a row, was set to miss a 6th game today with his oblique injury, was finally placed on the injured list today. I don't know what the Twins are doing here. This is another one of those scenarios. When you have an oblique injury, say it with me, folks, right? 2 to 6 weeks, generally 4 weeks. They left Castro off the injured list for 6 days, 5.5 days. They just left him on the bench doing absolutely nothing. They finally put him on the injured list today. So at least he got that going for him. Angelo added Keishel in a couple of leagues. Rubby17 did as well. Keishel's off to a great start. 5 steals in 5 games is probably the most outstanding feature. Now, he's a 20-25 steal kind of player. 5 in 5 games is fantastic. Looks like he's going to get some run here in the short term. And again, he'll get that time when Castro's back. They'll reassess. Castro obviously goes back into the lineup. He'll be back on the roster. So Keishel's spot could be dependent upon whether Edward Julian gets going or Brooks Lee. So we'll see. But right now, Keishel's ended up being a solid pickup, and he's going to get a little bit of run. And finally, Corey Seager has been placed on the 10-day injured list. This is not expected to be a long-term stay on the injured list because of the hamstring injury he's dealing with. In fact, the Rangers are hoping it's just 10 days. So that's the hope. Now, we've got a situation where who's going to take over? It's probably going to be Josh Smith. We heard Rubby17 earlier said that he picked up Josh Smith. Josh Smith is the worst 30 hitter in baseball. Sorry, Josh. But he's hitting first and third. That's where he's been hitting of late. And with his hot streak of late, and with the injury to Seager, he's going to probably still be in the top third of batting order, which is obviously a huge benefit to him. He is somebody, Josh Smith, that is a very, very moderate offensive player. Now, of late, he's been freaking killing it. He's hitting 360 with 1,000 OPS. He's actually 10 for his last 24. He's hitting 417 the last week. Not who he is. Look at the numbers last season. 13 home runs, 62 RBIs, hitting 260. That's who he is. Smith is in a hot streak right now. As I noted, he's likely to hit in the top third of the order. Smith is a solid short-term pickup. Could be multi-position eligible in your league too, which is obviously a really nice benefit, kind of in that Zach McKinstry mold. But both McKinstry and Smith, kind of the same offensive player that are both starting out well and have flexibility. So that's the winning move there. Don't get excited, Rubby or anyone else, about Josh Smith, but right now he's blazing hot. He's been in the cash game breakdown, or my Raised Ramblings. Let me try this again. Raised Plays. I forget how many articles are. Raised Plays. He's been on a Raised Plays article before. Looked at him for bets too because of his spot in the batting order. Good short-term pickup, but understand there's a shelf life there. Naz says, how about Lamont Wade batting 100? Yeah, I don't know. Bizarre. Lamont Wade is obviously a very established major league player. He's got the ability to get on base. He's hitting 98. Ugh. 6 for 61. My God, he'll get better, but yeah, I don't know if you can even roster him because he can't get on base if you're hitting 98. And then finally, before we talk to Tyler Buecher, Tony W says, "Hey Ray, I'm on an early season heater in DFS. I use your info on Fantasy Guru and my info. I had 300 units in entries last night and won 2,000 units. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Tony." Wow, Tony, fantastic. We had a big night last night in the wagering. We had a big night in DFS. We did 2 yesterday. Both those areas went pretty well yesterday for the Elite Mafia. And again, if you want to join Tony and the rest of us, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get signed up for any of the 3 baseball products, 2 of the 3 baseball products, all 3 of the baseball products. Send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. I had a note in Discord. Someone took my advice. They went with Christian Walker yesterday. They went with Pete Crow Armstrong yesterday. So Tony, I don't think was the only one that had success yesterday. I don't know many people, 7 times, almost 6.5 times their entry last night, which is fantastic. But we're doing some good things over there. Good crew of users, good crew of analysts. So check us out and join the club. FantasyGuru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. All right, it's time to talk some football. Now, this is a big day of football. It's honestly, I wonder if it's the biggest day of football in the Super Bowl. I don't know. Let's bring in Tyler Buecher and ask him. Tyler's the biggest day in the NFL besides the Super Bowl.
Might be week 1, opening Sunday. But yes, it's a very, very big day for the NFL. The offseason is about to be shaken up. We've had a really calm NFL draft. Every single team in round 1 has their current picks.
Right.
I think one of the biggest storylines entering tonight will be how many trades do we see? What kind of veterans are on the move? What kind of action do we see? Because that's one of the most exciting parts of the NFL draft to me is the uncertainty and all the chaos that comes with it.
Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Is that the biggest storyline to follow, the trade market here? Because, like you said, we haven't seen the action. I don't even know when the last time everyone had their pick in the first round. That's rare. Would you identify that as the biggest storyline, the trade up, trade down scenarios, or is there something else that you're looking at?
I might put that number 2. Number 1 being the quarterbacks. It's a very, very interesting class here. I mean, we're locked into Cam Ward right now as him, the number 1 first overall pick, going to the Tennessee Titans. Write it in pen, write in Sharpie. That's not going anywhere. But what happens after that? The current betting markets have over 2.5 quarterbacks going in the first round tonight at minus 175 odds. What happens there? That's the big question mark. Does the Giants ownership get involved heavily with this number 3 overall pick, force their hand? Can Pittsburgh really bypass a quarterback in round 1 and leave Mason Rudolph as their QB1 on the depth chart after tonight? What do the Saints do with Derek Carr, expected to miss a few weeks now, possibly a month or 2? I'd say the first half of 2025. Does a team trade back into late round 1? Like I said, there have been 0 trades so far, which is a big storyline. And there are several teams in late round 1 that would be willing to trade back and pick up more capital and let somebody else climb into round 1 to get those quarterbacks and that extra year on those deals. Why was Jalen Milroe invited to tonight in Lambeau? So quarterbacks, yeah, that's my answer. That's the big storyline, is the most important position on the field. And this year's class has some of the biggest question marks regarding the prospects. So I think that's the big storyline to follow tonight.
Yeah, I think I saw 8 of the last 9 years there have been 3 quarterbacks or more taken in the first round. So that 2.5 number is right on what the history tells us. By the way, before we move ahead, you mentioned betting market. Jeff Mans was talking about that yesterday on the Elite Sports Show, 3 o'clock Eastern time on SiriusXM. Are you involved in the betting market in the draft? Or is that something that you look at to just kind of see and it's kind of interesting, but you're not actually putting money on?
All right, so I've been obsessed with the NFL draft for years and years and years. Okay. And I've lived in states where it has been impossible for me to bet because of the state laws and legislature that's allowed state to state. Mm-hmm. I'm finally in the first time in my life in a state where I can do it. Unfortunately, I didn't get there until like March, so I missed some of the early betting windows. But I did throw down several bets in our Discord for any Fantasy Guru subscribers. Okay. Yes, I am very much involved, and I've been tracking this pretty closely. There's a lot of fun wagers that I'm still kind of debating posting, but I think most of the value is pretty much dried up at this point, where we're looking at small plays to make quarter unit, half unit plays instead of going like big plays. But the majority of my portfolio has largely been getting down early action on plus odds and I'm happy to say the majority of them have all swung in our favor. But it hasn't just been a very robust market this year because I've only had March and April to really get done any action.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. Before we dive into some more specifics on the draft tonight, I want to let everyone know that Tyler does have his mock-up over at fantasyguru.com. He went through the entire first round, names, explanations. How complicated was it? How confident are you? What's your expected hit rate? Like, lay it out there. You went through the whole first round and all the picks with the descriptions and all that. How confident are you that you're going to be 80% right, 75% right, 50% right? Where are we at?
Let me just say, if you get more than 10 correct, I think you're having a fantastic year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let's hope for double digits. But yeah, I'd like to think that I've spent a lot of time and energy into this, and it's not all for naught. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about on this show in terms of team needs has really been part of my research as well, finding out what teams are looking for, looking at draft history in terms of what GMs generally tend to gravitate toward, whether that be positions, Power 5 conference schools, high RAS, relative athletic scores. That whole thing is encapsulated in my process and encapsulated in my mock draft. So hopefully you get some good nuggets and takeaways there as I try to provide the reasoning and some potential trade pivot points and some alternative options when certain teams are on the clock. Should be a fun night, though. I'm really, really excited for tonight.
That's one thing that's always fascinated me so much about this whole process, Tyler, is that you're saying I hope to get 10 right. Someone on ESPN, they're going to tell you, well, I hope to get 15 right. No one's going to get 60% of them right. No one does. Like, it's impossible. Is that part of the fun of the process, or are you like me and it's like, why the hell are we doing this when no one knows what the hell's going on? Like, I don't even know. Like, the subterfuge, Jeanty's going to the Raiders, then he's going to the Jaguars, then the Raiders want to draft an offensive lineman, then Jeanty can't block. Like, these storylines to me, it's like it's all just pure nonsense. Everyone's guessing. And that's always been to me like why I always say, talk to me the day after the draft. Do you enjoy the process knowing that it's all so much up in the air?
Yeah, because I think you learn what teams are looking for, what teams need, and maybe if they don't hit them in round one, we certainly can find some betting angles to pursue in day two, where we've got both the round 2 and round 3 rounds going on. I'm a fan of the process here. It's a labor of love, but I truly just enjoy the mock draft angle in terms of it may not be 100% correct, but it definitely helps you get ready for tonight in terms of looking at what teams are expected to do, what they could do, and frankly, what they should do, which doesn't always come into play.
Yeah, sometimes these drafts happen and we end up going, what the hell is this team doing? Who knows? Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Sign up for the seasonal football package or the off-season football package franchise mode if you want to get access to Tyler's full first round over at fantasyguru.com. Biggest riser through this draft process. Who is it, Tyler? Who's gone up boards more than you expected?
Yeah, when I look at like the latest week or two, I think that player would be Walter Nolan from Mississippi, Ole Miss, defensive tackle. I've seen some late steam surrounding him, seeing him as high as number 11 off the board in some mocks. That was Peter Schrager's final mock to San Francisco. He's a disruptive force on the interior as a pass rusher. He was PFF's number 2 highest graded run defender last year. I think he's just been a late round prospect for most of this draft process. So to see somebody bullishly put him inside the top 12, I'm following that steam. I think there's a chance he's a top 20 selection. There's several teams that need help along the interior of the defense, picking in the late teens, where I think he's a great option there.
On the other side, who's the biggest faller without being as involved as you are? I look at Shedeur Sanders, who 2nd pick, 6th pick, 9th pick, now 2nd round. He seems to be on that list. Is he your selection, or is it you going a different direction?
Yeah, I think Shedeur's kind of a chalky answer, so I gave you a second one here,
okay.
and that's cornerback Will Johnson from Michigan. Okay. He was, I think, by most big boards, projected to be the number 1 cornerback, the top CB1. And after seeing him commonly mocked as a top 15 selection for much of this offseason, I've kind of seen him drop a bit more. And when we see teams finally reveal their cards tonight, I wouldn't be shocked to see Johnson in the late 20s, possibly, mainly because he's battled multiple injuries over his time at Michigan. In 2023, he had a knee injury that cost him multiple games. He suffered a shoulder injury this past year, turf toe, ended his year. And his production over the last few years has also fallen off relative to a hot start to his career. He also declined to get athletically tested. I think he's really trying to hide his 40 time because he's not a fast linear corner. And because of that, some teams that play man-heavy defenses, they're probably going to have him off or certainly lower on their board relative to other cornerbacks. He's really just more of a zone off coverage kind of cornerback in my eyes, rather than that kind of up in your face press, run step for step with the wide receiver kind of cornerback. So some teams, I think they'll have him much lower than a top 20 selection. Some teams may have him out of the round 1 entirely. So he's going to be my drop or my faller in terms of ADP.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com, joining us here on FSD. Let's talk about your favorite players. I'm going to ask you each position, not the best player necessarily. Maybe that the best player is your favorite player, but let's go position by position. Who's your favorite quarterback and why?
I'm going to be honest with you, Ray. I'm fading this entire class
entirely.
From a fantasy perspective. It's just not one that I really want to. If I'm forced to pick one, I'm going to go with one of the cheaper guys, and it's going to be like Jalen Milroe, a guy probably going to be round 2, maybe a round 3 selection. I don't know why he's going to Lambeau tonight. That throws me for a loop so much. Maybe he was promised by some team, or his agents were promised by some team. But I think it could be a very, very long Thursday night for that young man. I'll just say Milroe. He's just in my eyes, an incredible athlete. He's like 80% of Anthony Richardson. And I was super in on Richardson. He didn't progress at all as a passer. Milroe has those same accuracy concerns. You could say they're even worse. So we're not looking at a prospect that's a home run selection, but I'm not anticipating spending any kind of draft capital in rookie drafts or dynasty drafts on Milroe. He's just a kind of a late hidden gem where maybe it's a play that pans out, and maybe he's a spot starter where we get the 15 rushing fantasy points and the 5 passing fantasy points for him to put up something for us. But yeah, I'm largely out on this quarterback class. I really don't want to spend any kind of equity on there. Even in Superflex 2 QB leagues, I'm either trading the selection when they're BPA, hoping to get something back in return, or I'm pivoting to the running back class where this running back depth is just really, really strong, and there's some guys at the top that are really special to me.
All right, well, let's talk about that running back class. Who's your favorite there? Is it Jeanty, who everyone thinks is can't miss, or is it somebody else?
Yeah, Jeanty's a great prospect. Nothing against him at all, but I'm going to go a little bit lower on the board and go with Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. Really think he's just a great overall PPR back. He's battled some injuries in the past, but we saw last year when he was fully healthy that he's a menace. Multiple reports have him listed as the best pass blocker in the class. He's also a very, very strong receiver out. So he's the kind of back, in my eyes, that doesn't get off the field on third downs, whether he's pass blocking or out there running routes. 850 career receiving yards, 92nd percentile speed. And last year we saw that on display on some runs, 7.0 yards per carry, 4.43 yards after contact per attempt. I just really like this guy. And he's probably a guy that could go late round 1. Maybe he goes to the Chiefs. Maybe he slips into round 2. But he's a back that I'm very, very interested in for sure.
Wide receiver spot. We got some fast guys, some tall guys, some project kind of players. Who's your favorite guy out at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, I'm not going for the fastest. I'm not going for the tallest. I'm going to go for a guy that just kind of is middling and kind of everything, and it's Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State, another Ohio State guy.
Yep.
He just does everything extremely well. Just a smooth, polished route runner, explosiveness off the line of scrimmage, great size, 6'1", 202, quality speed, consistent pass catcher, really great knack for finding the holes in zone. Former 5-star prospect, number 1 receiver in the 2020 recruiting class, and he's lived up to the billing. Not every player in that caliber of high recruiting status translates to the college level and does really well, and then translates to the NFL and does really well. This guy holds the all-time record for the most receptions at Ohio State, where we've just seen year after year after year round 1 picks coming out of Ohio State. Not sure Egbuka gets it this season. He's kind of on that fringe. I think his over-under on most betting sites is 26 to 28. It's moved all over the place, to be honest. He has a chance. Some teams are definitely going to fall in love with him, but he's just the kind of player that won't let you down, and I'm very, very excited for that. I think he has an extremely high floor, and I think people negate or don't talk about his ceiling enough, where this is a guy that could be pigeonholed, quote unquote, to be a slot guy, but he's a guy that can certainly play on the outside. And we've seen in his splits, 2022 season, his splits, the yards per out run on the outside and in the slot, very, very high. Did not matter where he was lined up. Battled some injuries, 2023, 2024. I'm really just excited for this guy. To me, he's one of my favorite wide receivers in this year's class.
All right. In the final position, obviously the tight end spot. Look, we've had Kyle Pitts, we've had Laporta, we've had Kincaid, we've had Bowers, we've had lots of exciting tight ends, and some of them haven't performed very well, certainly at the start of their careers. Who's the guy you like at the tight end spot the most this year, that's most intriguing to you, that's your favorite? And would that player be somebody that you would anticipate having success if they're in the right spot in 2025?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Big Ten. Give me Tyler Warren, Penn State. He's top of the board for many mock drafts and many big boards. But I really wanted to bring him up on this show just because he reminds me of your favorite tight end, Taysom Hill.
Oh, great. Yeah, he's my new favorite now too, Tyler. All right.
Yeah, he's got some of that to his game. He's a former quarterback. He sees the field entirely very well. Diverse alignment at Penn State, seeing time in line, in the slot, out wide, as a running back, as a quarterback. Hell, he even punted at sometimes. He even snapped the ball one time, ran down the field 40 yards, and made the touchdown catch. No, he made the touchdown catch, not the tackle.
That actually happened?
That actually happened, yes.
Wow, I'll have to look that up. Okay.
Really goofy play, but it was awesome. He ended his career with 1,451 yards from scrimmage in 2024. That's the most ever by a Power 5 wide receiver. You mentioned numerous generational tight ends before we talked about this section. Warren may be the most productive in terms of his overall production profile. Wow. Finished the year 7th in Heisman voting. I mean, you don't get tight ends that do that. This guy's a rarity to me. I think he's going to be a plug and play option no matter where he lands, and the type of asset, the type of weapon where you design plays for, because he's that special.
Don't go to the Saints. Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com. Let's move on to some specifics here. I mentioned Shedeur Sanders, and he's a very polarizing player, maybe the most polarizing player in the draft. There's talent, there's dad, there's just everything going on with this guy. And at one point in time, there were a lot of rumors that he was going to be the number 2 pick in the draft. Does not appear that's anywhere close to reality at this point. And then we got Jackson Dart, who's flying up draft boards. Who do you prefer? It sounds like Dart's going to be taken ahead of Sanders. Is that what you would do? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. Like when you look at their profiles, so we talked about Tyler Warren being a plug and play no matter where. These two guys, Sanders and Dart, are going to be much more landing spot contingent in where we want to play them, specifically based on what kind of scheme they're going to fall into. Sanders, he's much more of like a timing-based West Coast offense, really high completion percentage, 74.0%, led the FBS, but he was a disaster when pressured, and that Colorado offensive line did not do him any favors in that regard. If you put him in a RPO-heavy offense, I think he might have some struggles, but put him in like the Giants' current system where it's a spread-out, pass-heavy system where they allow the passing game to be one of the ways they move the ball. I think he could be set up to do really well. On the flip side, Jackson Dart to me is much more of the RPO-style quarterback who read defenses in an entirely different manner than Sanders. Sanders had to read the entire coverage, the entire field. Dart's reads were more of pass target one, hand the ball off, or hold the ball. It's just a different translation to the NFL. So him specifically, I think he'll be very landing spot contingent on where we want to take him in fantasy. He's got plenty of arm strength, can attack all levels of the field. He's got great speed. But landing spots, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, those two seem much more as better fits to me on paper, where you can operate more of like a play action, heavy attack quarterback with some RPOs. Now let me throw the wild card part here.
Okay. All right.
Jackson Dart to New York Giants, which goes against what I just said there. Okay. Peter Schrager, Todd McShay, Daniel Jeremiah, all have the Giants trading up for Dart in their last iterations of their mock drafts. General manager Joe Sheen's son just recently posted some Jackson Dart highlights on his, I think it was his Instagram account.
Okay.
Either this is one of the craziest smoke screens we've seen in a minute, or Dart looks to be a future New York Giant quarterback. Again, you can't pay for this kind of entertainment and drama. It's great.
Tyler Buecher, FantasyGuru.com. You can't have a show talking about the draft and not talk about Aaron Rodgers. I know. We're not going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, though. I won't mention his name because it might end up being that the old guy no one was really talking about at the quarterback position is the one that's going to have more of an impact this year. Aaron Rodgers may or may not play football ever again. I hope he goes away. That's fine. Kirk Cousins. We're hearing rumors that, there's always been the Browns talk, right, about him going there because the Browns obviously need a quarterback. We've heard some rumors about the Steelers. We've heard some rumors about him going back to the Vikings. What are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, he's got a no trade clause where he gets to basically dictate what happens. $40 million cap hit this year. So you got to find a team willing to take that, or have the Saints be willing to eat that much. I'm sorry, the Falcons be willing to eat that much. So he's a really tough sell, especially when you look at how he ended the year. over the last 5 games, 1-4 to end the year, 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions.
Yeah.
And sometimes the end for quarterbacks is rather precipitous, where it's just a very steep fall off. And in my eyes, there's so many examples. Tom Brady too. Like Father Time's undefeated. I think the days of Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, let's throw him out there, entering a season as the presumed season-long starter are kind of going to be in the rearview mirror. I don't see any team willing to do that as their plan of attack entering a year. That said, maybe he lands with like the Saints for a quick short spell while Derek Carr recovers. The Saints just don't really have the money for that. That's kind of a luxury selection. Maybe the Steelers, if they neglect a QB in this class. Those are really the 2 fits that I see. The most likely outcome is he's probably just going to have to accept taking $40 million. Oh, he's getting paid like $27 million. I think it's 27.5. He's guaranteed salary, but it's a $40 million cap hit. He might just have to accept the $27.5 million and not start for Atlanta.
Tyler, I'll be your backup for $27 million.
It's not a bad gig.
It's not awful. No. What about the Steelers? You mentioned it multiple times here, and they're a really interesting team to me because obviously they have a winning tradition going back all the way to the 70s, and they've got one of the best coaches in football that apparently no one in Pittsburgh likes. Pittsburgh fans don't like making the playoffs every year because they're not winning Super Bowls. It's weird. They haven't had a quarterback. They had a quarterback. They got rid of a quarterback. They have Hall of Fame quarterbacks retired. They're trying to figure this out. It does seem like getting a quarterback wouldn't be bad. Let's make honest. It's a move they need to make somehow. They could also use a running back, right? They don't really have a lead running. They signed Warren to that $5 million deal, but they don't really have a lead running back. There's rumors about them dealing Pickens maybe because Pickens and Metcalf aren't necessarily redundant players, but kind of are. What is this team going to do? So, to me, it's really fascinating because they have such a winning tradition, such a good defense, but there's so many questions about what they're going to do early in this draft.
Yeah, the Pickens angles that you ended on was particularly interesting because he's been rumored to be one of tonight's trade targets or trade candidates. Wouldn't be shocked to see Pittsburgh try to climb up and maybe get Jackson Dart, maybe go after him as their quarterback. Because to me, he's just the best fit on paper behind Cam Ward, who Tennessee's not trading the pick. They are firmly staying at number 1, not but Dart in Pittsburgh, give him a solid offensive line, and he'll thrive in Arthur Smith's scheme. That play action, attacking the intermediate and the deep part of the field, throwing the DK Metcalf, like it just looks like a great spot for a guy like Dart. But yeah, that's my expectation. They are currently drafting at pick number 21, I believe. So they're kind of in no man's land where they could move up, could move down. But they're never really in contention for a top 5 draft pick, given how well they play year after year after year. So I wouldn't mind them being aggressive here, trying to trade up and get Dart. Maybe it involves their round 1 pick and Pickens to climb up to a spot where they feel comfortable getting him. Because there will be other teams that are going to be jockeying around for QBs. I'm just curious to see how it all plays out. That's, again, the biggest drama of tonight is what happens with the quarterbacks. 21 for Dart feels fine on the nose, but a lot of people are aware of that. So some people may be trying to trade ahead of them. So in order to do that, they may need to be a little proactive here and trade up to get their guy if they're really set on Dart.
Well, and you mentioned Pickens, just to follow up. What's his value? Like if he does get dealt tonight, like ballpark it for us. Because, talent-wise, it's there. There's the stuff off the field and the attitude and the want to do it, all that stuff. But on the field, right? What's the value for that in the open market?
I think it would vary, honestly, from general manager to general manager. Entering the league, Pickens had maturity issues. We've seen that play out at the NFL level. I think some teams may value him in the round 3, round 4 pick. Some may value him a little bit later, but I'd say 3-4. That feels fair for Pickens, who's still young, still a playmaker, just needs to be in the right environment.
Let's move to the running back position. He's not the biggest riser by any means, but Ashton Jeanty's pretty much everyone's number 1 running back. He's number 1 pretty much in everyone's mind in dynasty fantasy football. He was going to go 12 to the Cowboys. Then he was going to go 10. Then he was going to go 6. Now he's going to go 5. I thought we don't draft running backs early. Now the money is on Jeanty to, I guess, the Jaguars, leapfrogging the Raiders, who 5 days ago were all in to take him. Do you think he's going to Jacksonville, number 1? Number 2, how do you see that fit for Jeanty? And number 3, because this guy's name has been – I've been asked this guy's question with this guy 5 times last week. ETN, What happens to ETN if Jeanty is indeed the pick by the Jaguars? Does ETN stay around and then he's a support piece? Do they trade him? That rumor's out there. So talk us through that whole situation, because I see people in the Discord room at FG trying to decide what to do with ETN as well.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. I've been trying to tell people not to make moves with running backs because there's going to be so many varying movements and shakeups through these next few days. The current betting odds, as you've mentioned, have Jeanty as the favorite for number 5. And if you're scratching your head at that, I get it. But I think there are two things to bring up. Number one, the run game being a disaster last year. ETN under 4 yards per carry. He enters the final year of his rookie contract, so they may also not want to pay him another contract after back-to-back years under 4 yards per carry. The Jaguars did beef up the interior of their offensive line in free agency, but perhaps they're looking for more of a playmaker after letting guys like Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram walk. Jeanty is just a playmaker. And number two, I can't really get this quote from out of my mind, from general manager James Gladstone. I think we'll prioritize positions across the front, which means both the offensive line and the defensive line, and those that put points on the board. Jeanty scored 30 total touchdowns his final year at Boise State. Certainly checks the proverbial box there. So I think he's the future of this rushing attack. I have him in my mock as the number 5 pick to Jacksonville. As far as ETN's value, minimal. I mean, like, last year he was unstartable. People were asking start-sits in our fantasy Discord questions on Sunday mornings, and I could never say ETN's name. I just didn't have any confidence in saying him being anything better than like a weak flex. And honestly, a weak flex, I'd rather go with a receiver where there's more variable upside. So now we throw in a bulldoze over a running back, a Maurice Jones-Drew type compliment, which ironically goes to Jacksonville here in this situation. It just really torpedoes any kind of value for ETN, where his value may not be resurrected until 2026, where he's elsewhere.
Got a comment here from Angelo. Amari and Hampton. Well, I think a lot of people might have as their 2 at the running back spot, maybe the 3. Talk us through this one. I mean, I think everyone's going to say Jeanty, right? But who is Amari and Hampton, and is he a fantasy start potentially this year, depending upon that landing spot?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jeanty, we've seen everything about him. His ridiculous stats at Boise State, his touchdowns, which I just mentioned, his ability to just run through and over opposing defensive players. Very, very fantastic running back. Amari Hampton, though, many people's number 2 back in this class, and it's hard to dispute that. Very productive back over at North Carolina, who has quietly put together quite a few NFL caliber RBs over the last few seasons. But Hampton next in line in there. I've seen him go as high as number 12 to Dallas, number 20 to Denver makes sense to me. There's a spot for Hampton to be a legitimate difference maker and hit the ground running, depending on where he lands. And he's just a quality back all around. One of those do-it-all type backs where I mentioned Travion Henderson as my favorite back, but as of now, my pre-draft rankings are Jeanty, Hampton, Henderson. So even I think Hampton's probably a superior talent. If he lands in a superior spot, then I'm probably going to rank him a bit higher than Henderson, who just happens to be a draft crush over a fantasy preference. I'm here to win fantasy points, guys, not fall in love with these dudes. So yeah, give me Hampton. I think he's a really, really strong caliber talent and a guy that should hear his name tonight.
Head over heart, guys. Head over heart.
Yes.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. As we mentioned, go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up for the football product. You can get the full season football product right now, or the franchise mode, which is all the offseason stuff, including all the run up to the draft, all the offseason movements, the player profiles of all these youngsters that we have over at the site. Tyler's mock draft, the first round, it's posted over at fantasyguru.com. So get signed up for that product now. And if you get signed up for that product, you also get access to the live stream tonight, which Tyler, I know you're going to be on. Talk us through all FG tonight as well.
Correct. Yep. fantasyguru.com. We will be doing a coverage of the entire NFL round 1 draft. Armando Marcel, Russell Clay, and myself will be hosting. We'll have various guests on throughout the show tonight. We'll be covering from 8 p.m. Eastern to basically midnight when the draft ends. It's usually a 4-hour spectacle, and we'll be there the entire way, adding some commentary, adding some notes. Last year we did a running fantasy ranking as players were selected, which was kind of fun to do. We were not very kind to Brock Bowers. We did not like the Raiders selection there a year after going with Michael Mayer.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be a fun time. Stay with us for the 4 hours. We'll have plenty of great content and great nuggets to take away, and hopefully allow you guys to succeed in your upcoming rookie drafts.
You're obviously going to be, like you said, Tyler, be part of that 4-hour broadcast tonight over at FG. Will you be writing anything up in particular in the next couple of days, or how is the writing piece going to work for you?
Usually I'll have some kind of post-draft rookie rankings that we'll do as like a group. We'll have like our top 10 running backs, top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 receivers.
Right.
But one thing that I did last year that got a lot of good feedback was adding a top 75 overall list, which included offensive players and defensive players for those that play in any IDP leagues, individual defensive players. That's kind of a rare thing to see out on most fantasy sites because
it's always separate.
It's usually separate. Yeah, people like to separate the offense and the defensive players, and usually for good reason. So to have a cross mix, usually I try to go with a rather balanced approach for the IDP section because IDP scoring varies so much league to league, where it's usually like a sack heavy or turnover heavy league or a tackle heavy league. I try to play with like a balanced setting to allow players from either one to make those micro adjustments up or down if your league settings are weighed heavily in one direction or the other. But that'll be another thing that I'll be trying to get out quickly. And then an update to our underdog rankings as well once we get some landing spots for everybody. Have those out for everybody that wants to get in on the best ball streets with Best Ball Mania 6, I believe. They're on to 6 being released very, very shortly once the NFL draft concludes.
Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Thursday here on the show at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. As you can tell, he's chomping at the bit for the draft tonight. He'll have the coverage starting again at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight over at FG. The crew will be with him covering the draft. As you just heard, he'll be breaking things down after the draft and after tonight as well. And he'll be back with us next week. I'm sure we'll get a few tidbits from him next week in his visit here as well. But head over to FG, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner to get his and everyone else's breakdown of the NFL draft in 2025. Tyler, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. Go drink some Gatorade, take a nap, get ready for the draft later tonight, and we'll catch you then.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Ray.
You got. Oh, by the way, you didn't send it to me. Shoot. Do you have the pictures of the deck?
Oh,
we'll have to do it next week. Gosh, everyone, for those of you that, because I got someone, hey, Tyler went and helped his brother do a deck, and we keep saying we're going to throw the picture up. We'll get it next week. That's my.
Okay. Yeah.
We have too much going on today. We have to draft. But I'm sure it looks great. We'll get a picture of it. It's going to probably be like the Taj Mahal of decks.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Tyler, thanks for your time today. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, sir.
You got it. He's Tyler Buecher. I'm Ray Flowers again. Head over to FG, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up for any of the products. Send a note to support@fantasyguru.com, and tune in at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight for our coverage of round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. For Tyler Buecher, I'm Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.